Motherhood Incorporated proudly presents Military Mom Talk Radio live on TogiNet.com. Co-hosted by Robin Boyd and Sandra Beck, the owner of Motherhood Incorporated. Military Mom Talk Radio is here with a powerful platform for women to discuss their ideas, issues, and concerns with respect to the military lifestyle. Military Mom Talk Radio encourages you to share your experiences of being a military wife and mother. This show is dedicated to educating your family about the many resources that are available in both the public and private sector. And we'll be sharing helpful information from women all over the world. We'll cover everything military, from helping a family member cope with post-traumatic stress disorder, to navigating government programs dealing with family issues, to the struggles of deployment, along with being a working mother both in and out of the home. This is Military Mom Talk Radio, and here are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, military moms, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Robin Boyd, and we've got a great show today because we're going to talk about health and fitness, and we've got some special guests coming on. I'm not sure exactly when they're coming on the show, Rob, but they're coming in from Alaska, and they're going to talk about... It is. Well, but when people deploy, like I get a lot of people deploying from, or not deploying, I'm sorry, PCS moving, out of Camp Pendleton. And it's always funny to me, like when they go to Okinawa or they go to, Virginia or Alabama, it's no big deal. But when we hear that they're going to Alaska, everybody giggles because, you're going from really hot weather to, freezing Arctic cold. So, it's just fun. I think it's going to be fun to talk a little bit about moving to Alaska for those people that get stationed up there.
And I was saying, isn't it so cool? Here we are all networking from different time zones.
Right.
Between New Hampshire, between Texas, where our station is, between California, between Alaska, all different time zones. I think that's awesome.
That is. I think the farthest time zone swap we ever had was when we brought people on, patched them in from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
That was exciting. And I think we did Israel, too, at one point.
So cool. So are you finally having some break on your heat out there? We've got the most gorgeous weather out here.
Oh, no, it's still hot here. It was hot today, and I was running around in the heat, and heat makes me cranky. I don't know, people do really well. Like when I went to the bases in Hawaii to visit them a couple of years ago, I got off the plane. I was like, oh my God. I just think, it's tough anywhere you slice it when you have heat or cold. And, we all have to adjust. I think it goes along with the theme we were talking about, like, change of the new normal. The military family has to be so resilient with change on every level.
It's true, because here we every year go through a seasonal change, and it's difficult because whether it's the kids starting back to school or whether it's all of a sudden the weather changing. I think you feel it more on the other side when all of a sudden the springtime comes and it turns to the hot, rather than us trying to adjust. We can just throw another sweater on for the cold. But regardless, you still have to remember, okay, we've got to bring the feet get colder quicker, and when your feet are cold or your back is cold, then you're not sitting well and you can't focus. It's really hard when we have lots of changes in our lives.
It is. And that funny thing about putting on a sweater when you're colder, you got to have the sweater. That's the one thing about when you move from one part of the, country to the other. You go from the lower 48 and, like South Carolina and Alabama, and go up to even just to Minnesota or, some of the border states up there can get really cold. And if you don't have that stuff. And it's funny because, Rob, I grew up on the East Coast. I'm well acquainted with cold, but I had lived here in California for so long that I went to a convention in Montreal, and it was like, 22 below zero. It was the biggest snowstorm they'd had in, 50 years. And I was there with my California weight, everything from the shoe to the, my winter coat was a joke. It's like what you would wear as a fall, over your sweater kind of coat.
Well, I told you I was up in Vermont with Emily this past weekend, our daughter, and we're going to have her on the show toward the holidays. and one of the things I hope she'll share with us is her trip to Peru, because she's getting ready now. They're leaving in less than 2 weeks to go to Peru. And talking about packing made me think of this, because they had to literally pack for the whole 7 days that they're going to be there in one little carry bag. And now here is Emily. She's a professional model, a professional makeup artist, and not that she is vain, but she obviously does take a lot of time in looking her best all of the time. So now she is having to kind of really pare down. And I said, well, her underwear is so tiny, she could probably fit a month's worth in a wallet, but she's just this little bit of a thing. But the point being is that they had to really be very careful about what they're packing. Of course, you have to be careful on the airlines, but being very self-sufficient out of one backpack. And isn't that what the military ends up having to do? You have to be so conscious of every little thing you put, how it fits. Does it fit? Is it too heavy? If that one's too heavy, you got to find something else. It's a challenge, and so we'll have to ask her all about her trip when she's on later on in the season.
Yeah, well, and some things you just don't know. It's like I used to have those little warmy packs. My mom would break them and stick them in my boots. I'm talking about, you'd like crackle them up, and I don't even know if they still sell them. But there's all these tips and tricks that you learn, from living in a cold climate or living in a hot climate. Because I almost gave my kid heat stroke when I gave birth to him here in Woodland Hills, and it was 110, and I put him in a bunting and I wrapped him up and I swaddled him, and the nurse was like, oh my God, you're going to kill that kid. What are you doing? I'm like, he's got to stay warm. She's like, it's 110 out. He's going to get heat stroke. But I didn't know any better. Where I come from, you wrap them up good and tight.
And that's true. Every new mother has, you're not sure what to do. I did the same thing. I was trying to blanket my kid, and we had a cold room, so I was worried, and he just kept kicking those blankets off the minute he could. He would, even as a little infant, he was like fussing because he just did not want all those blankets. He was a warm kid.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it is. Being a new mother is fun. We've had so many times that we've talked with Blythe Littman from Baby and Toddler Instructions, and isn't it true? And I think too, when you are deployed and you're a family that's moving around a lot, you don't have mom right around the corner to be able to just pick up the phone and say, "Mom, what is this? I don't get it. I don't know what to do." Thank goodness, at least there's Skype nowadays, but it's really hard when you are not with the family unit that you're used to, and you have a brand new baby in your arms.
Oh, brand new babies are hard, period. I don't even need an excuse.
They are. It is. What was funny was I had never had any experience. I'd never even held an infant when I had Ross. I had babysat, but everybody I babysat was all, grade school or kindergartners. I had never held a baby. And I came home I had a great nurse in the maternity ward, and she showed us how to give them baths and how to do this and how to do that. But then I got home and I was so, oh my God, it's 5 minutes to 2. I've got to be ready for this. And oh my goodness, it's 5 after 4. I'm late for this. And I was so trying hard. And then I was watching my husband, and he was from a very big family. And he was in there changing his diaper and kissing his toes and singing and playing with his feet. And I was like, oh, you can play with them. Oh.
Yeah, so these are a big snap.
It was the real proverbial light bulb over the head going, bing. Oh, I get it now. So, yeah, right from the get, I did not know. It's definitely something that you kind of have to learn along the way.
Yeah, well, I feel sorry for some of these moms. I have a girlfriend who moved up there with 4 kids, and, they came from Southern California down by Camp Pendleton up to the Anchorage J-Bear area, and, you just go, wow. 4 kids completely unaccustomed to the cold, mom completely unaccustomed to snow and ice, and it's just boy, you talk about adjusting, because you've got to figure out how to raise the kids, much less prepare them for the environment too.
Yes, yeah, that's true. And I can only imagine how even the light, when you stop and think how you have so much dark or you have so much light, just that's difficult to get used to if you haven't grown up there.
It is. And, what's cool about our guest coming up is she's all about adjusting to change. She's helped me adjust a lot, adjust my eating, adjust my thinking, adjust things, as we grow and change and we have to adapt to the things around us. One of the hardest things is when you turn to food for comfort and you want to make that, and you can't even get your comfort food where you are.
I know. And it's true. Comfort foods are sometimes the thing that we turn to, but making smart choices is what Deb Boulanger does help us do. We're hoping we are trying to get a hold of someone else from your friend from Alaska, but I think in the meantime we may have Deb come on first. We'll talk a lot about the changes and able to deal with some weight gain when we have depression, especially during deployment. When we're stressed, I think that's the time when we are the most vulnerable to weight gain or just unhealthy eating. And of course, then when we're unhealthy, and our body is less resilient to the infections, and then we start getting the sniffles and we get the sicknesses, and it then becomes sort of a vicious cycle. So kind of finding one place to stop one part of the cycle then makes us a little bit stronger body and mind to be able to deal with everything else that goes on.
Yeah, I'm still stressed out dealing with body and mind. It is. Like, I used to just think I had to worry about my body. Then I'm like, no, you got to enrich your mind and you got to feed your spirit. I'm like, oh, forget it. Put a fork in me and done.
Well, our first guest is Deb Boulanger. She is the whole life coach for busy women over 40 who want more out of life from the food they eat, the love they get, and the work they do. It is a whole body focus because, as we were just saying, it's not just one part of your life that you change when you need to make a change, is that you have to adapt and grow with every part of life. So Deb is a wonderful gal. She herself went through a 3-year transitional journey, and she is now one to help us learn how to nurture and tune our bodies as well as our souls. She herself reevaluated her career and took a very big step into a new journey, a new normal, a new life. And she's here to tell us how we can do the same. Stay tuned. We'll have Deb Boulanger right here on Military Mom Talk Radio.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
It's time to devote time to yourself and strap yourself in for a fun, down-to-earth, enthusiastic, compassionate, easy-to-understand discussion on the unlimited ways you can be all that you want to be. Join us for Bee Institute Radio with Christine McKee on TogiNet Radio. Each week, Christine will have lively and open discussions and interviews, share stories and case studies, and hear from experts on the topic of the week. Christine, a registered psychologist from Australia and published author of Be by Design, How I Be is Up to Me, hosts lively discussions and interviews every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time.
I am not the woman I used to be. I'm free with Minister Diane Jones. Monday nights at 10, 9 Central on TogiNet. This is your chance, ladies, to hear stories of hope and healing from someone who's been there. Someone who has fought back from the horrors of incest. Minister Diane's innocence was stolen from her in the land of alcoholism and mental illness, which led to her being emotionally, physically, and sexually abused by her parents. Yet in spite of this trauma, she has gone on to become a successful wife, mother, registered nurse, and minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm not the woman I used to be. I'm Free is a straight-up show to enlighten you and to lighten your load. Do not let the weight of this world or the things that have happened to you control your life. For more on the show and Diane and her book, The Story of Me, email her directly from her show page here on TogiNet. Then, join us for I'm Not the Woman I Used to Be, I'm Free, with Minister Diane Jones. Monday nights at 10, 9 Central on TogiNet.com.
We'll put a boot in your ass, it's the American way. Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list, and the Statue of Liberty started shaking.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. Covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Military Mom Talk Radio, and we've got such a great guest coming up. I just so enjoy her, and I learn a lot every time she's on. She's Deb Boulanger, and she has given me such great information. I wish I knew this when I was 20, Rob. There's so many good things that she teaches that, I wouldn't have 20 years of bad habits to break.
It's true. Once it's easy if we start right from the get-go, and I think that's wonderful that Deb helps us know how to help our children start good habits right from the beginning.
Well, that's a big one because, you hear all this stuff. I was reading Jillian Michaels' book recently, and, they're talking about how everything's in plastic, and plastic's a hormone disruptor. And you just sit here going, like, what am I supposed to feed them? Like, I don't know what's left because you've got GMO apples and everything is packaged in, like, BP, whatever that thing is. And it's really hard to know where to even begin. And, that's why I'm hopeful that Deb will just put us on the straight track on what we can do, especially when our partners go on deployment and we're doing it all on our own, because that's, to me, when stuff goes right out the window.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Deb. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Robin. It's great to be here again.
Great to have you. So the $1 million question for this week is, when we go from being, a fully integrated family to a single mom status because of deployment, and some of these deployments are really long. So you got to make a plan on what to do with your kids and to keep yourself together. And I love that you have been both a full-time mom, a single mom. You've done it both. So you know what I'm talking about, that transition.
Oh, I so do. And to tell you the truth, we can focus on our kids, but we focus on our kids all the time. And I think the opportunity for military moms when spouses are on deployment is to really make sure they're focusing on themselves. You guys were talking about change is the new normal. And if we're not handling the change well, then we get stressed out. And in a stressed state, we tend to be really susceptible to disease. We get unhappy, we gain weight. And when we're unhappy and very stressed out, it becomes very, very difficult to deal effectively with our children, right? So I think it might be really helpful. We've talked about food before, but it might be helpful to talk to the moms about how do you keep yourself from getting so stressed out that you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, and it just becomes overwhelming to be a single mom during those times.
Deb, what do you suggest for moms? Especially when you're a single mom because of a deployment, you have to do a lot more planning. What's a good tip as far as planning? Because some of these moms are still working, still having to get the kids to soccer, still having to do homework. When is there time to be planning meals?
Right. So I think planning is really important. And I like to recommend to my clients that they actually schedule regular routine activities into their day, and that could also include some early morning time for you to recollect yourself and get the lay of the land for the day and make your plan. It's great to have a weekly plan. You can have a weekly meal plan so that you're going to have meals ready, and you know you can reuse the ingredients from one meal to the next. So I love to say cook once and eat many times. Cooking a healthy meal shouldn't be stressful, right? We need to reduce the stress. So all you have to do is really plan well, and you plan well when you start in the store. And Sandra knows, and I think you've seen it too, Robin, I have a free guide that's called the Live a Whole Life Guide to Cooking and Eating Healthy Food without adding to your to-do list. And if you do shop well, you shop smart, you prep your food in advance, you've got the meals laid out, and keep it simple. I mean, kids don't need much, and if we raise them with good habits, all we need to do is provide them with a lean protein, a couple of vegetables on the plate, some fruit, and if they learn to eat that way, then when they get older and they make their own plates, those are the kinds of things that they're going to eat themselves.
Well, and I got to tell you, from watching my Cooking Light magazine, and I'm a big foodie and I have tons of cookbooks. But then when I looked at your little handout thing and I started actually implementing some of the things, Deb, that you were teaching, my life became so much simpler, because I know it's boring, but it's like every week I buy like a bag of potatoes, I buy a bag of tomatoes, I buy a stalk of celery, I buy a crown of broccoli, like I buy like those 10 items twice a week. And then I just pair it with fish, or chicken, or, even some steak, or, sometimes I just use pasta if that's the thing. But we have so simplified our meals, and I've simplified my cooking down to, where the kids eat it, and it's healthy and it's good and they like it, and I'm not having a stroke.
Yeah, I mean, steam, saute, broil your protein, or if you're lucky enough to have an outdoor grill, throw it on the grill. And I think the key for moms is prepping in advance, right? So we have a limited amount of time. We come home from work. It's 5:30. We have half hour to get the dinner on the table. It's really helpful if everything that we've bought at the supermarket over the weekend has already been washed. If the lettuce has been washed, if it's been chopped up and put into bags. Same thing with the greens and the vegetables, so that you can just grab and go. That really makes life easy. So if you add one more step to your shopping day where you actually wash your vegetables and prep in advance. And I also like to recommend that you bag the snacks for the kids. So they stop from going for the cookies and going for the chips. So I have an older boy now. So my son is 15. And because, he's like all teenagers, or like most teenagers, he starts to have hormonal changes. He started breaking out with a little bit of acne. And recently he came to me and said, Mom, no more cookies. I only want fresh fruit. And he laid out for me, I want grapes that I can put in the freezer. I want apples. I want bananas. And that's what we have. And if you put it out on the counter for the kids, and that's the first thing they see, then they'll just grab for it.
Isn't it true, if things are pre-made? Actually, I did that when I was pregnant with my second child, because I had a toddler, and I would put them at his level, and I would say, go and get a blue bag or go and get a green bag, and it was sort of helping with those kinds of things as well. And I would have little juice in sippy cups or whatever, and it was fun for him to go and get the one thing, but I didn't have to be getting up 15 times when I wasn't feeling well. And that way he had all of the things that I knew he was getting, not things that he was shopping for in the cupboard.
Yeah, exactly. You can pop popcorn. You can make kale chips. I know not everyone is wild about kale chips. You can make your own potato chips. You can bake thin sliced sweet potatoes in the oven and bag them up in advance, and then the kids have good choices. And I don't like to scare people, but there are some really important reasons why we do this. It's not just to be healthy or feel good about ourselves. There's research that shows that our children are likely to live shorter lives than we do, and that's simply because of all the pesticides, the preservatives, the stressful and toxic environment that we live in. So it becomes very, very important to their health now and in the future if we clean up the diet and also reduce the stress in the house.
That's very powerful when you stop and think of it that way. And it kind of puts a little more burden on us that, oh my goodness, we'd better make sure that our kids are eating well. But I think there again, it just starts from the beginning. And when you're giving them good choices, they learn to make those choices, especially like when the kids are off on their own. If they're at a play date or whatever, that's really, really tough. Do you have challenges with cookies? You said that he himself asked to not have the cookies anymore. Was that because he was realizing that he was not feeling well?
Yeah, so he did. We went to the dermatologist and we were talking about sugar and sugar being a big culprit. Sugar and dairy are the two biggest culprits when it comes to skin eruptions, right? So when the body can't adequately digest what it's taking in, the skin is a huge detox organ. So when we start getting eczema or rashes or acne, that's an indication that we're taking in food that we're not digesting well. And when the dermatologist sort of confirmed that, he came to me and just made his own decision. But all the way along, I've been sharing everything I know about health with him. And that has impacted his decisions. You know, he stopped eating corn chips that had a lot of preservatives in them. He stopped eating ice cream. These were all his decisions. I only exposed him to the information.
Isn't that wonderful? What a smart man you have there. We're going to have...
Sorry, Rob, but I was just going to say, I think if our kids understand why we say something, they're less apt to buck the system. I just want to throw that out there.
Absolutely. You're so right. I want to make sure everyone knows where to find the book that we're referring to. Deb's website is liveawholelife.net, and that's WHOLE, liveawholelife.net. And if you go to her website on the sidebar, you will see a place where you can sign up for Live a Whole Life Guide for cooking and eating healthy foods without adding to your to-do list. A wonderful resource. It's there for you, and we hope that you do tap into that because it is a wonderful guide. We're going to have Deb stay with us for a little bit longer after the break. On the other side of the break, I would love to bring up adaptogens, Deb, herbs that can help create balance or promote relaxing sleep. Don't we all need a little more sleep? And to be able to do it in a natural way is very intriguing and something I think that we all need, because even if we have the opportunity to sit down, that doesn't mean we're going to rest. And Sandra knows I was nagging her over the weekend because she was supposed to sit down and rest, and I was playing the mother card on her. So we're going to talk to Deb a little bit more after we come back. This is Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd, and our guest right now is Deb Boulanger. Stay tuned.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
Have you ever wondered if you're normal? Or why you feel distant from your partner? Then join us for Sex Talk with Lou, with your host Lou Paget, on TogiNet Wednesday nights 9/8 Central. Do you want to recreate a truly connected relationship? Or wonder, how do I tell my kids about things? Join Lou Paget, one of the world's best-selling authors in the field of sexuality, a certified sex educator and sought-after expert for all media, and her renowned expert guests as they discuss anything and everything about sex that impacts our lives and our families' lives. For more on Lou, check out her website, loupaget.com. This is the show where the best experts in the field of sexuality and sexual health can finally give you the answer to that question. Join us for Sex Talk with Lou, with your host Lou Paget, Wednesday nights at 9/8 Central on TogiNet.com.
'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. Covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, military moms, this is Sandra Beck, and I am here with Robin Boyd and Deb Boulanger, and we are talking about food choices. We are talking about adjusting to new normals with respect to our lifestyle, especially when deployments come around and we suddenly become single women or single men, as the case may be. It's really hard. And so, Rob, we were talking about right before the break about some herbs that can do some pretty neat stuff.
I'm fascinated. Yeah. Go ahead, Deb. I'm so fascinated about this.
Oh, well, there's so many wonderful live plant-based substances that were the original medicine, right? So before we had pharmacy factories, pharmacological factories, and we had medicines and drugs, we had plants, and plants were what we went to when we needed some help. And there are many plants that serve to help reduce stress and also give us energy. So an adaptogen is just that. It helps you adapt to the situation. So if you're feeling extremely stressed, it helps calm you down. If you're feeling fatigued, it helps give you a little bit more energy. And there are 4 that are my go-to plants for feeling a little bit more energy and reducing stress. And one is maca. Maca is a root, and you can get it in a powdered form. And typically you put a teaspoon into a smoothie. It does have a little bit of a bitter taste, so you want to mix it in a drink that has something else in it. You can just put it with some berries and yogurt or almond milk or coconut milk. You can throw a little cacao powder in there, which is the raw form of chocolate or cocoa, and mix yourself a little drink. My favorite way to do it is to have about a cup of coconut milk, and in the winter it's really nice. It's like an adult hot chocolate drink. Put in a tablespoon of cacao powder, a cup or 2 of coconut milk, and about a teaspoon of maca powder, and then a little sweetener, maybe a little agave to sweeten it up. And I heat that up on the stove. And especially if I'm losing steam during the day and I've got a radio segment to do or a teleseminar that I'm going to deliver, it helps keep me energized. The others that I like a lot are ginseng, which should be familiar to everyone. You can get that in tablet form, powdered ginseng from the pharmacy. Another one is a plant. It's a Siberian plant called rhodiola. And there's a supplement that you can buy on Amazon, and it's called Rosavin, Rosavin. And it's a fabulous supplement to have, and just eases things out. These are natural forms of relieving stress. Obviously we want to sleep well, we want to be exercising, we want to be eating well, but there are times when we need a little extra help. And so rhodiola is another. And the last one comes from Ayurveda and from Indian medicine, and it's called ashwagandha. And that's another very helpful herb for some people to help reduce stress and increase vitality and longevity and energy.
Do you list all of these in your book? I kind of know the answer, but do you list these in your book as far as how much one should have in a day or during the week?
In the guide, there is an appendix. It's a supplement of superfoods. And there's also some links on where you can source them online, because if you're living on a base and all you have is the commissary, you may have to order online in order to get them.
Because I think that's something that I always question. I may know that this might be good for me, but unless it's written right on the label, I'm not sure how much. Should I be having 4 tablespoons a day, or should I be having 1/8 of a teaspoon a day? Those are the things when you're just learning to have sort of a benchmark to be able to use them properly.
Well, most of them come in supplement form, so they're in capsules. So they're dried herbs in capsules. So it's real easy. You take 2 or you take 2-3 times a day. Mm-hmm. The only one that's not in a capsule is the maca powder. And the guidelines on maca, you should start with a teaspoon. If you feel like you can handle more or you need more, I sometimes put a full tablespoon in my smoothie, and I find that I handle that just fine. Mm. Yeah.
So how do you spell maca, just so that we're sure of that if we have to Google it?
Sure, it's Maca.
Oh, okay.
And it's an Andean root vegetable, completely natural, very, very popular. And there's a website that I go to a lot. It's called sunfood.com, just sunfood.com. And they have all these supplements readily available.
Mm.
How do you know how much to take and what to take? I mean, should you go to a nutritionist, or you just like load up a pill case and rattle around?
Yeah, I think you have to be an educated consumer. So obviously I have a certification in holistic health counseling. So talking to someone is always good. There are things that you can use, though, without the guidance of someone who's a professional. And I think the Rosavin Plus, the rhodiola is just fine. I mean, people are going to the drugstore anyway and stocking up on vitamin D and a multivitamin, and half the time we don't even know what's in those multivitamins or even if we need them or not. So as far as supplementation, I believe that everyone needs vitamin D. Every woman needs vitamin D. Most of us are deficient. We don't get enough from the sun. And we all need some form of adaptogen in order to help us balance out stress. I mean, B vitamins are very, very key, B12, B6, to balancing out stress as well. But it is good to talk to someone.
What about essential oils, Deb? Because I know that they might make us feel luxurious if we're using something, but there's a lot more to it than that.
So much more to it. As I said, plants were the original medicine, right? And essential oils are just that. They're oils that are extracted from the leaves, stems, flowers, and roots of plants. So one of my favorite oils for stress management is lavender. Right? So lavender is a beautiful essential oil. You can use it neat, which means right out of the bottle. You can put a couple of drops on the bottoms of your feet, right near where the arch is. And there's a meridian point there, and the oils will just be absorbed right into the bloodstream. Or you can put a couple of drops in your hand, rub your palms together, and cup your hands over your nose and take a few deep breaths. I've had clients who've just done beautifully with essential oils. And there's a blend that I recommend to them called Serenity that has a base of lavender, but also some other essential oils in there like ylang ylang and some tangerine, I think. Just, really nice blends.
But that's how you pronounce that, ylang ylang. I always look at it because it's such a funny, so many of these things you don't even know how to spell them or, what they even are.
I know. I just led a retreat last weekend for women, and everyone got the essential oils as part of it. So there are essential oils that are blended to elevate the mood, too. I have one here called Elevation, and that also has some lavender in it and some citrus blends and tangerine and melissa leaf and ylang ylang again. So I find them really, really helpful, and you do feel luxurious, and it almost is like a mini spa break, a 2-minute spa break in the middle of a hectic day.
Well, that brings me to a good question about, hectic days. Like, how do you, when you're crazy, like, single moms running around, kids, trying to get everybody everywhere and do all this stuff just makes you crazy on a good day. Like, when you talk about different lifestyle practices, what do you practice while you're running around like a lunatic?
Yeah, I think the trick is to prevent yourself from running around like a lunatic. So the trick is to get in a calm space first thing in the morning. So I advise all my clients to carve out at least a half hour for themselves every morning. And that might mean you have to set your alarm half an hour earlier. And there are 2 really fundamental lifestyle practices that have changed their lives in in a huge way. So I'm not exaggerating here. And one is something called morning pages. And morning pages is like a morning rant on paper. It's not something that you ever want to read again. It's not something that you ever have to edit. And it's certainly not something that you ever want to share. But it's a blank journal. And all you do is let the stream of consciousness run first thing in the morning, right when you're so close to your subconscious when you first wake up. And if you think about it, when you wake up, there's this talk track that's going on in your head already. It's already fired up. It's telling you, what not to do, what to make sure you do, what you need to fix, who you need to call. And that talk track goes on in the head throughout our day unless we let it out. And one great way to let it out, all the things that are worrying you, all the things that are bothering you, all the things that you can't control. And it's something called morning pages. And you write for 3 straight pages until there's nothing left to say. And sometimes it turns into problem solving, or sometimes it'll turn into your to-do list. And that's fine because you've already cleared the decks. If you do that simple step for 15 minutes every morning, you will find yourself having more patience with your children, having more patience with yourself, allowing more space for creativity to emerge, and not being led around by your life. You'll feel more in control.
I know that's something that I've done if I've had something that I'm angsting over, in that I may not want to verbalize this, especially if it's a work situation. I don't want to confide in somebody because that might be detrimental to that work relationship. I work it out on paper, and I kind of put pros and cons down, and I work it all out in that sort of, like you say, your morning pages. Then you can face the day with a clear conscience that you've already kind of made it objective, because the paper was your voice in an objective way. That is really, really powerful, Deb.
It is powerful, and it allows you to be thoughtful and grounded and not so reactive.
That's perfect. I want
to be throwing your eggs at your kids in the morning.
I want to make sure, Deb, that we give your website again. It is liveawholelife.net. And again, we encourage you to look for her guide, Live a Whole Life Guide for Cooking and Eating Healthy Food Without Adding to Your To-Do List. It is a resource that you will want to keep in your kitchen, beside your bed, wherever you want to be reading. It should be beside you. Deb Boulanger, please visit her website so you can find out more about her and follow her blog. She has some amazing, very thought-provoking things to read. Deb, thank you for being with us today. As always, what a gem.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Sandra. Pleasure to be here.
A lot of fun.
Care. On the other side of the break, we're going to say hello to Alaska. We have Tait and Lauren Zimmerman. They are working in a family's real estate business, and they have also worked an awful lot with some military families trying to move to that neck of the woods. Be back in a moment with Tait and Lauren Zimmerman.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 10, 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Girassi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward, with tips, tools, and advice and hard lessons learned. These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Are you ready to start rocking that woo-hoo that only you do? Because Lisa Stedman is on a mission. She will dare you, challenge you, enlighten you, provoke and empower you to bring out that inner woo-hoo. Lisa is an internationally acclaimed best-selling author. She is a breakup expert, a brand consultant, CEO of Woohoo Inc. and the Woohoo Radio Network. She will show you how to take your boo-hoo and turn it into woo-hoo. Get rebellious and get real. Get your dreams off the back burner. Get inspired and motivated to take action. Start rocking that woo-hoo that only you do in love, life, and business. She is going to be here for you every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Only here on the Woohoo Radio Network.
We'll put a boot in your ass, it's the American way. Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list, and a statue of liberty started shaking.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. Covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, military moms, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Robin Boyd, and we are bringing some cold weather friends to us to the airwaves today. We are bringing on Tait and Lauren Zimmerman from Anchorage, Alaska, and they own a real estate company that specializes in military relocation, which is really a big deal, you guys, when you get your orders and you're going from somewhere like Alabama, Louisiana, Southern California to Alaska. There's a lot to know, and I'd like to introduce you to Tait and Lauren. And Tait, I'm going to go to you first. I want you to introduce your family, because this is a military radio show about family. I want you to tell me how many kids and how many you have, who you work with, and just give an idea of the family business.
Hello. Let's see. So our family is basically in the business. Dad has been in real estate for 20 plus years at this point, and I grew up in real estate. Mom works with us on our team. My sisters both worked with us at different points and off and on still do. And then my wife helps me a good amount. We have 4 boys, 5 and under, and obviously that's a handful, but when she's able to, she does help, and we go on appointments together and do things together. And so that's kind of the family business right there.
See, and I love that, because that to me is a very real depiction of what many families are today. We've got, moms that work in the home and out of the home, and for the family business, we've got multi-generational things going on. And I think that gives you a unique perspective, Tait, to help the military family. When people first get their orders and they're gonna PCS up to Alaska, what's the first thing they should do?
Honestly, one of the best things is to do a little bit of reconnaissance and get to know the areas. I always prefer when people are able to come up here and kind of do a preemptive trip and just visit some of the general areas and see what things are like. But just getting to know the areas, especially when it comes to, of course, my specialty is helping them find a home when they move up here. And, I've lived my whole life here, so I have lots of information as far as what the different areas are, those kind of things. They want to prepare themselves for, the weather and kind of get adjusted to what that's going to be like. And actually, Lauren's here, and she could speak more to that side of thing if you'd like.
I do, because, you've got so many military bases in Alaska. You've got Fort Richardson, you've got Elmendorf, then you go up to, I think Fairbanks has Fort Wainwright and another Air Force base up there. And that is Eielson. And there's this reputation that the weather is so bad in Alaska. And now, Lauren, your wife, I love this, because she comes from South Carolina originally. And Lauren, I've got to ask you, when you were growing up as a little girl, did you ever think you would be raising 4 boys in Alaska?
No. I also said I was never live in the country, and I live way out in the country now. But yeah, no, I never, ever, ever expected to be up here. I had never been below about 15 degrees before moving up here, and that was just for, I think, like one day out in Utah. But yeah, I absolutely love it up here now, and I would have a very hard time imagining living anywhere else at this point.
What would you think would be the hardest thing for a mom that, like maybe she and her husband are stationed in South Carolina and they get their orders to move to Alaska? What do you think would be the best piece of advice you could give them when moving, up into your area, other than to call you and be your friend because you're super nice?
Well, that would be wonderful. Honestly, I think that one of the big deciding factors is your attitude, because people who move up here deciding that they're going to like it, they like it. And people who move up here super afraid of it and not decided to have the right perspective may or may not like it. So I think that really your perspective and just your deciding to have a good attitude and finding things to enjoy and to love about Alaska is very important. Now, for a lot of people, that's not hard at all to do, to find things to love about Alaska. I mean, honestly, I love everything about Alaska. But I think that preparing, especially if you have young kids, having the gear so that they can go out and play in the snow, and so that they will be warm and prepared for that is very helpful. And really getting outside, even during the winter, finding some good winter things to do, whether it's going sledding or like Tait and I have cross-country skis, and we'll go out cross-country skiing, or really just getting set up for the weather at all times of year and taking advantage of all of the activities that there are to do outside.
See, I love that, don't you, Rob? Like, attitude is everything, because really you can't change where you're going. You get your orders, you have to go. And is stuff readily available? And I don't want to sound like a big ignoramus in the lower 48, but, when we were promoting this show, one of the people asked us, well, is everything you need at Walmart? Is it, like living in South Carolina? Because I know you guys travel a lot and you go different places. Is there anything you can do to put people's peace of mind that they're not going to darkest Peru?
Yes. Oh, there's all kinds of things up here. And really, a certain amount of that kind of came not too long before I moved up here, but it does make it. So we're in Wasilla, which is about 40 miles from Anchorage. And
probably about 35 minutes from the bases. It kind of depends on traffic.
We're not far from the bases. But we have a Target, we have a Walmart, we have a Sears, if that counts anymore. And we have a...
Thanks, Laura. There goes our Sears sponsorship.
We have Fred Meyer, which is huge. They have everything. It's basically like a Walmart with a big grocery section. Is our grocery store. And so that's just in Wasilla. But Anchorage has, pretty much everything.
Yeah, it used to be growing up that we would end up going to Anchorage a lot more for purchases and things, because we didn't have Walmart, we didn't have the big grocery stores, we didn't have a lot out here. So if you were going to make any type of complicated, if you're going to do some shopping, a lot of times you'd have to schedule going to Anchorage. Now that still happens, but it's not as frequent. Most of the day-to-day things, for sure, you can get here if you want a little bit broader selection. Sometimes, like if we're shopping for, say, a laptop or something like that, we'll go into Anchorage.
And really, in the last couple of years, Amazon shopping has really, because they do their free shipping applies up here, and that's one of the big things living up here is finding shipping can be a lot harder when you're ordering things, but Amazon free shipping does, the free Super Saver shipping does apply up here, and so I honestly just, so much of the stuff I just order online. But yeah, going to Anchorage now is more like if we want a fun excuse to spend a day shopping, because a lot of it we can just get in Wasilla.
Well, and it's funny you say that about the Amazon, because we talk about that a lot, because a lot of these bases that are very remote, we rely heavily on Amazon free shipping. But I will tell you a funny thing, Lauren and Tait, that, I live in Los Angeles and it's congested and I hate to get on the freeway. I use Amazon free shipping, even though I live within a 17-mile radius of like 4 Walmarts, because it's just easier. It comes right to my door.
Right. Yeah. So that definitely works up here. And it's one of my favorite ways to get stuff without having to drag all 4 boys to the store.
And one thing, too, is a lot of people PCSing up here, families PCSing up here, would also be ending up in Eagle River and Anchorage if they want to be a little bit closer to the bases. And so, there's a lot of military families out here in the Mat-Su Valley, is what we call, Wasilla, Palmer is the Mat-Su Valley. Some other communities. So we're a little bit further, but it's still doable for sure. And then the people in Eagle River and Anchorage are that much closer to a wider selection. So.
Yeah, they're pretty much very close to everything.
Well, and that tells me that it's really important when they get their orders that they should call you quickly, because you can give them the pros and cons of living in these different areas. Because I'm on a map right now looking at, this is a pretty big geographic area. So how would you know which are the military family friendly neighborhoods, what's close to post, or, where are the schools, things like that? There's probably a million questions you guys can answer.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that talking with someone who lives up here and does really know the area is very important, because, just to tell you, Tait can tell you, okay, this area is great at this time of year. It gets super windy during the winter, just stuff that you wouldn't really know with a one-time visit, and tell you, distances or traffic or just all kinds of different things.
So I want to give the listeners today your website. It's Zimmerman, ZIMMERMAN, team, TEAMAK.com. And you've got another cool site, the Alaska Free MLS. Tait, we've got about a minute and a half. Can you talk a little bit about that for people that are either considering a move to Alaska or they might be stationed there?
Yeah, AlaskaFreeMLS.com, and actually Zimmerman Team AK, if you're searching for properties, it's really the same engine that drives it. The comments we've heard is it's one of the easier sites to use as far as navigating, saving properties. You can save them to your favorites, searching. We've actually had some different sites in the past that were clunky, and this one seems to be very user-friendly for people. So it's a good tool. It's a great tool. We do, in addition, when we develop a relationship with somebody and somebody wants to move to this area, and we're guiding them through that process, we'll actually get them set up with a backstage pass to the multiple listing service, where we go in depth into their criteria and their parameters, and we can fine tune it even further than the public sites allow us to. And that, because of the nature of the data feeds, that allows us, because it's directly part of the MLS, it allows us to give them information that's more up to date as far as properties the day they come on the market versus a day late, sometimes 2 later.
Tait, we're going to have to say thank you so much, because we have come to the end. Tait and Lauren Zimmerman, you can find them at ZimmermanTeamAK.com. We thank you both so very much. Stay warm up there. We so appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tune in next week. We're going to have Debbie Gregory and Dr. Jim Taylor, a internationally recognized authority on psychology, business, sport, and parenting. See you next week, everyone.